Oh, look.
Look.
Microsoft has updated their terms of use.
Oh, man. What about their privacy policy?
No word on that yet. I'm hoping we hear something about it at E3. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Adustus Incorporated LLC's highly professional YouTube channel where we cover all forms of media. You don't need to go anywhere else to learn your opinions about anything. Get all of them right here. Today we've got a real treat for you. Today we are talking about Pokemon. Not only are we talking about Pokemon, we're talking about Pokemon in the context of Smash Brothers, and we're talking with one of the largest Pokemon experts on the site. He actually is the speedrunning champion for Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. None of that's true.
No, it's not.
He's just a guy. And his name is Pizza Dude Man Guy.
Yeah, don't start spreading
man,
rumors.
No, the joke would have been, he's just a guy. A Pizza Dude Man Guy.
A Pizza Dude Man Guy.
That would have been the joke.
I
fucked it up.
I do like Pokemon a lot. I can't count the number of times I've played Leaf Green.
You do like Pokemon considerably more than I do. I will hand you that.
Yeah.
You definitely know way more about Pokemon than I do, especially when it comes to the last couple gens.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a few dips here and there on like my knowledge. Like I actually, because I played Sun and Moon, but I didn't like play them a ton like I did of X and Y, Black 2, White 2, and I actually never got into Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So I had to do a little bit of research and talking with other people to get a sense of what's popular and hip and hopping in the Pokemon scenes right now. But I think I got.
What are the kids battling with these days?
Right, but I think I got a pretty good sense of it now.
Now, I know that we said that we didn't want to discuss Pokemon until E3 happened because we knew there were some more games coming. Well, Nintendo decided to drop that information before E3.
Yeah,
Pokemon's
pretty good about putting out their announcements before E3, and that's exactly what happened.
I'm sure we're still probably going to see some things at E3.
But I doubt there's going to be any major new announcements of Pokemon that we haven't seen anything of. Maybe we'll be wrong.
Yeah, the thing is that I feel like we, in general, have an idea of what to expect from this. And we'll see more details about like how the games work and all that. But I don't think that we're going to be seeing a lot that'll change like what characters are really up for representation. That said, if that happens, then I guess we'll have to do another video.
Yep.
But
hey, that's not the worst thing
for
in the
now,
world.
I think we're good.
All right.
So the first thing I think we need to discuss is just that reveal, which is basically the rumors surrounding this idea of Pokemon. Was it Let's Go?
Yes, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. It's interesting because rumors about this came out like weeks ago with pictures and stuff. And what was said about it at the time is that they were Kanto remakes in the style of Pokemon Yellow, only with two versions, one featuring Pikachu, one featuring Eevee, and people are like, okay, that's pretty cool. If that's what they're going with, is more first-gen remakes. Because, I mean, at this point, that is the longest thing we've had since From. So, I mean, a lot of people were predicting the first thing we'd see was either an 8th generation of Pokemon, or a 4th generation remake, or possibly a 1st generation remake, and it seemed like that's what was happening. Although there is, from what it looks like, an 8th gen of Pokemon coming out next year. Now, that being said, one of the rumors all those weeks ago was that it was going to have all of this, like, Pokemon Go integration as well as Pokemon Go style capturing, and people didn't quite buy into that yet. Because they were like, that sounds a little weird. That sounds very atypical of Pokemon. But as it turned out, all those rumors were correct. It is a Pokemon Go inspired main core Pokemon game. It's both.
It's not really a first-gen remake, though, yeah?
Not really. From what I'm understanding, it is a journey through Kanto, and it is going through the Kanto locations. I don't know if it's going to follow the exact same formula of Kanto, you know, Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge. I don't know if it's going to do that or not. But you do pick if you want a Pikachu as your starter or an Eevee as your starter.
Yeah, there's still a lot of information that we have to get about it, but it definitely looks like it's definitely not just like another remake of the first gen. This is definitely its own thing.
Yeah, especially with the new capture system, which, I mean, is just Pokemon Go's capture system.
And so I think that this gave us two important pieces of information. One of them being that we now know that the 8th gen of Pokemon will be coming out roughly a year after Smash is supposed to come out.
Yes.
Smash is supposed to be holiday this year. The 8th gen of Pokemon is supposed to be holiday next year.
So as far as Smash Brothers is concerned, we're obviously not going to see a newcomer from Pokemon that's from an 8th generation, as, you know, we might have seen in the past when, like, a new gen comes right as the same Smash Brothers game's coming out, and people are like, are they going to add, like, a promotional Pokemon for that? Which Greninja kind of was, but not really.
Yeah, I would say that, like, especially when you consider that wasn't Smash 4 delayed?
It might have been. Oh boy, probably. Everything feels like it was.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was delayed. So if it hadn't been delayed, Greninja would have been in the game even sooner.
So, there's that.
So I think that there is a possibility that they could have a promotional Pokemon, but it does change, like, you know, it affects things.
Right, and so, I mean, if we do see an 8th generation Pokemon, it's just going to be as DLC, and that's still a possibility down the line. I'm sure with... You know, I'm assuming that Smash Brothers releasing this year is going to be relatively early in the Smash life cycle. This is only going to be, what, is this still technically first year of the Switch, or is it second year? Either way...
We're in the second year now. The first year ended in March.
Okay, but either way, it's still... The Smash Brothers game this time is coming so early in the Switch life cycle, it's going to give us a lot of more time for DLC characters down the line. So...
You know, like... I have a really hard time remembering holidays and my own birthday a lot of the time, and just dates in general. But, like, I can still always answer you, like, precisely March 3rd, 2017 is when the Switch and Breath of the Wild came out.
That's
I can
funny.
give you that date immediately. Like,
that's pretty funny.
Like, without hesitation. That's like one of the most memorable dates to me, and that's kind of sad. The other big piece of information is that Eevee is now the most featured Pokemon in a game.
Yes, so that's been an interesting talking point with a lot of the circles I frequent.
Because the thing with Eevee is, Eevee has been thrown around as an option for Pokemon for a while.
Eevee is always been a popular Pokemon. It has always been one of the most beloved Pokemon, which makes complete sense to me. It's this Pokemon that really feels like it represents your choice because you get to evolve it into one of many forms, and it's always relevant because they keep adding new evolutions to Eevee. Like every two gens, we get like a new Eevee evolution or two.
And a lot of times, like, Eevee is one of the ways that they kind of promote or showcase the new thing that's happening. They showcase the new types that they're introducing. Like when they had Fairy type, there was a new evolution to go along with that.
Or Umbreon. Umbreon showcased Dark type.
Yeah, and also Umbreon and Espeon like showcase like, hey, there's new ways to evolve your Pokemon now regarding affection, and then what time of day is it?
Yeah.
When they level up.
I mean, and there are so many examples you can throw around of how important Eevee has been to the series. You could say that, you know, in XD your starters in Eevee, in Coliseum your partners are an Espeon and an Umbreon. The anime has Gary with an Eevee that he never evolves until it naturally evolved into Umbreon later down the line. It's a Pokemon that you always receive as like a gift in the Pokemon games. Red, in the original iterations of Gold and Silver, had an Espeon on his team. You know, it's a Pokemon that just always gets brought up and always will.
When you're talking about the game specifically, it's a Pokemon that has had more staying power and more relevance than something like Jigglypuff. It is a Pokemon that has been around for a long time and is popular and is constantly changing and evolving.
Literally.
And now that it evolving. And now that it is basically the star of a game, it is now the Pokemon on the box of one of the games. Now, like, it just seems more likely than ever that, yeah, maybe we'll see Eevee. And of course, then the question comes in, so what do you do with Eevee? Because Eevee's entire thing is just being able to evolve into all these different things. So do you I've seen people say things like, maybe its alternate costumes can just be, you know, different evolutions, and it changes the movesets from like a cosmetic basis, but they still function basically the same.
Okay.
I've seen things where it's like evolution is just part of something that happens with it, and it's kind of a mechanic similar to switching between the Pokemon back when you had the Pokemon Trainer. I've seen people saying, no, just keep it as Eevee, and then maybe its final smash is summoning the evolutions, kind of like Mega Man's final smash. There's been so much about how to make it work.
I see.
So yeah, it's there's all these different ways that you could do it, because just Eevee by itself is not the most exciting, I think, because what makes Eevee so exciting is all the things that it can turn into.
Right. The thought I had for Eevee is basically having a special move that lets it evolve, and it's like a one-time use special move. It lets you pick which of the Eevee evolutions that you want to go into, and then once you pick it, you're stuck in that evolution for the rest of the fight. Each of the different Eevee evolutions then has a new special move that replaces that one, but otherwise the rest of its special moves and moveset as a whole function mostly the same, little changes here and there. Like Glaceon has ice-based abilities attached to its regular attacks and stuff like that. Then your final smash is also variable. It'll either be something based on the Eevee evolution you are, or if you decide to remain as Eevee, you get Eevee's special Z move from Sun and Moon.
That's honestly one of the things that I think would be the best, is I think just the ability to play as any of them, and they basically function the same and it doesn't change that much except for mostly cosmetic stuff.
Right.
I think is the way to go, because that kind of embodies what Eevee is. It's just like that level of customization.
Right.
In Pokemon, and that personalization of like, what do you want? One of the only things I would have against Eevee is just that it's kind of difficult to work in quadrupeds that don't have like opposable thumbs and stuff, just when you talk about the mechanics of like grabbing and like ledge grabbing and stuff. But I think that Eevee would be considered dexterous enough that you could claw its paws on like the edge of the stage.
Yeah, well, because that's an interesting thing. Because one of the things I did want to bring up is kind of points against Eevee, and that is one of them. Because yeah, I think you could have it where it's like, yeah, sure, he claws onto a ledge and grabs it. That's fine. Grabbing enemies, maybe he can bite them, or maybe you can, kind of just latch onto them. That's fine. The one thing I have a hard time with, though, that someone brought up to me is how you have Eevee handled two-handed weapons, like the hammer. How does Eevee handle the hammer item? And I haven't quite figured that out yet. Because, I mean, even if he puts it in his teeth and starts bobbing his head up and down, that's going to look a little silly.
Maybe just stands on its back paws and, like, swing. Oh, you can't see me, right?
Well,
just stands on its
fine.
back paws and just swings it up and down.
Yeah, I don't think that would look that weird for Eevee if he did that. I mean, Pikachu does something similar, but we're used to seeing Pikachu walk bipedally, so... I think you could get away with that. I think it's worth it to do something that looks a little funky like that in order to have a really good character, right? Now,
it does seem like a very minor thing, but it is still like... This is a fighting game with these specific mechanics that everybody needs to be able to do.
Yes.
Which is why it's always been a thing of, like, you can't have King Boo in, and it's because of, like, he just, like, physically can't do some of these mechanics.
Or it's going to take a bit of creativity to make it look like it's feasible.
It would be the first character that wouldn't have, like, a limb meant for manipulation.
Right. What if he grabbed it with his tail?
That's kind of weird, mostly because then you got, like, Jolteon doesn't have a tail.
Ah, shit.
Yeah. And just like Flareon's tail would not be the kind of tail that could grab things.
No.
It'd be difficult just because the tail changes so much between evolutions.
So I hate for that to be the thing that like keeps Eevee out. It's just something to think about and like work around, and I think it can be done. But
I think it's more feasible than a lot of other quadrupeds. Like if you had something like Bulbasaur that didn't have vines, like the way that those limbs are, they're so short and stubby, it would be really weird to try and make it work. Eevees are fairly long and flexible, so it's like, you could probably get away with it.
Now, the other point that I see against Eevee is that we're just getting the announcements now of these games, of these Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, whereas, from our understanding, the development of the new Smash game started quite a while ago, and that decisions might have been made before, the announcement of these Pokemon games. But that doesn't seem too relevant to me, because...
That doesn't hold up. That's completely undone by Greninja.
Yeah, well, because I'm sure that before Sakurai starts deciding on a roster, he takes the wishes of the creators of all these series into consideration. I'm sure he has to go to Game Freak and be like, hey, we're working on a new Smash Brothers game. Is there anything you want to tell us or recommend before we start deciding who to put in? And they could go, actually, yeah, we're coming out with this new game that features Eevee. And there we go.
And Eevee's like a Pokemon that's already been in Smash. Like, not as a playable character, but it's already been in Smash. It's clearly on Sakurai's radar. So, like, I have a really hard time buying that they just wouldn't have time.
Now, whether or not Eevee gets in, a lot of people are still talking about Sun and Moon Pokemon because that is still currently the newest generation. That's a new generation.
That would be Decidueye, right?
Well, we'll talk...
Or no, is that X and Y?
No, you're right. It's the one with Decidueye in it. But, I mean, he's not the only option. I have a small list. I do have a list, though, to talk about with Sun and Moon Pokemon. That being said, I was asking this the other day, how many new Pokemon newcomers do you think we'll get, anyway?
It's hard to say, man.
It is.
The thing with Pokemon as a franchise is that you're looking at something where... It is literally full of options.
Exactly. There are always
hundreds.
good choices to add to Smash Brothers. And I mean, this last game, Smash 4, it was the only one that we've seen to add only one Pokemon. Right? Because the original had Pikachu and Jigglypuff, Melee had Pichu and Mewtwo, Brawl had Lucario and Charizard and Ivysaur and Squirtle. Even if they were all mapped under Pokemon Trainer, that's still 2 then, because that's Lucario and Pokemon Trainer. And then Smash 4 really only had Greninja, although it did also bring back Mewtwo and make Charizard a standalone character, so, But the point is, more often than not, we actually see multiple new Pokemon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 2, but it also just depends on how big they're going with the roster. When you look at the size of the roster that we have now, one thing I've been wondering is, are we getting to the point where we're going to stop seeing the roster, like, grow more and more each game, Because I feel like there's a point in, like, fighting game rosters where you reach kind of like a critical mass, where it's like there are too many characters. Like, and it feels bloated, I guess. And I don't know if we're there yet. I don't think we are. But I do wonder if we're going to start seeing less and less added, or the roster increasing by smaller and smaller sizes as we go forward with these games. We've got all these options, but at the same time, we also, like, the people that are the options, the Pokemon, are not really often, like, the center of the story. They're not the people you play as. So it's hard to point at it and go like, oh, this is the main character of this game,
Right. Well, because
which is why I think Eevee is so...
Yeah, because it's going to vary from trainer to trainer which Pokemon are the most important. It's going to be the ones that they capture and use.
Yeah, and so, like, one of the easiest things to fall back on is like, oh, it's the legendaries, or oh, it's the Pokemon that has, like, a special quest.
Or it's the Pokemon, in a lot of cases, it's the Pokemon that has, like, the movie, or the Pokemon that has the special appearance in the anime.
This is why I think Eevee's chances have just, like, skyrocketed, is because now it's like, its name is literally in the title of the game.
Yeah.
And, like, before this, Pikachu was, like, the only Pokemon that got that, like, level of attention.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because, yeah, other than that, it's always been, the trainers are the characters, and the Pokemon are kind of like tools. And there'll be Pokemon that have, like, larger roles. You have things like Sudowoodo and, like, the Red Gyarados. It's hard to go, like, this is, like, the main character that's crucial to the story.
Oh, yeah.
When you're talking about a lot of the Pokemon. I do think if you're talking about just picking up Pokemon, I know Decidueye's been a common choice for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised because that is representing, that's a grass starter when we already have a fire and a water starter.
Right.
And it's a unique fighting style, and, like, I get all of that. And I think, yeah, that's pretty likely. If they go that direction, I think that's the most likely starter Pokemon that we'll be getting. Unless we go with an 8th gen Pokemon. Just from looking around, I feel like the legendaries haven't really been making the same kind of impact as somebody like Mewtwo did.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think there's any legendary that's made the same impact as Mewtwo. The closest one that came to mind immediately was Deoxys.
But it's been a while.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Sun Moon Pokemon?
I know, like, nothing about Sun Moon Pokemon. I did not play Sun and Moon.
All right, well, here it is.
Give me a crash course.
Before Sun and Moon was released, and like we saw all of like the promotional stuff for it and things like that, I think a lot of Smash speculators, myself included, were kind of hoping for a really cool grass starter, because when Smash 4 had Charizard and Greninja, it felt like that choice was missing. Because that feels like a big part of Pokemon, is your first choice on if you want the Fire, Water, or Grass starter. And it was a little disappointing that in Smash 4, you didn't have that choice for people like me who always pick Grass starters. Because ever since 3rd Gen, I've been pretty loyal to picking Grass Pokemon every generation.
It's true. You're one of the only people I know who's like that, too.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about Trico in Ruby Sapphire that just really drew me to him. And Sceptile is still, to this day, my favorite
It's
Pokemon.
the expression.
And
Trico is such a you Pokemon. Like that's a Pokemon that's probably like just you, like your personality put into a Pokemon.
I think so.
I think that's probably it. It's a very expressive sprite.
And just so ever since then, I've always gone with the grass Pokemon, with Turtwig and Chespin. I know I'm forgetting whoever's the 5th Gen one, but oh well. People were pretty excited because Rowlet did kind of take off as this popular grass starter. And I think in kind of anticipation of that, well, people saw Decidueye too, and they're like, oh man, he's a great idea for a Smash Brothers character. He's a really cool grass starter. He's got this archery-based fighting style. That's something that we don't really have as much of in Smash Brothers. He's also a ghost-type Pokemon, and that's really cool. So he had all this cool stuff going for him, and that was all like pre-Sun and Moon official release. And so Decidueye was very much a highly anticipated character, I would say. And I think for those same reasons, he was added into Pokken Tournament, because he was very, very anticipated. The thing is, as Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon and the anime have all gone along, Decidueye has actually not gained as much fan popularity as the other starters' final evolutions. Rowlet is very, very popular and very, very used in the anime, but Decidueye is not.
It's an owl with a bow tie.
It is. So people love Rowlet, but Decidueye not as much for some reason. I mean, and so like a lot of times now when people bring Decidueye into a Smash roster, more people will point and say, well, that's just because you want a grass starter. That's not because you really like Decidueye. It's because you just want a grass starter. And like, I feel like I have both, especially for me personally, because I did pick Rowlet as my starter and I do like Decidueye the most. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I do like Decidueye the most. He is my personal pick for if we got a Sun Moon Pokemon for those reasons. I mean, to me, having that grass starter choice is the icing on the cake, but it's an icing that I really, really want with my cake,
It's not just appropriate, it's delicious.
All right, so Decidueye is one option, with a lot of people saying that the merits to it are, yes, you do get the grass starter, yes, you do get a unique fighting Pokemon that way, who also happens to be a ghost Pokemon. He has the appearance in Pokken Tournament, and he is the final evolutionary form of a very well-liked Sun and Moon Pokemon, Rowlet. But it kind of just fits in better with Charizard and Greninja. Though there are some people who think that they should just put Rowlet in, and, so there's that.
That's rough. I don't know, because like Rowlet is one of those Pokemon where it's like, yeah, I don't know if you could do all the stuff you need to do in Smash with Rowlet.
How's Rowlet gonna hold a hammer?
Yeah, Rowlet's like it's a ball.
It is. Besides Decidueye, there are 2 main other Sun Moon Pokemon I see getting brought up a lot right now. One is Lycanroc. Lycanroc
is that the werewolf?
Is the werewolf.
Thing?
It's the rock type werewolf.
Okay.
And first of all, both Lycanroc and its pre-evolution Rockruff were used in a lot of promotion for Sun Moon. For instance, the main professor is often seen using one. It's kind of the intro Pokemon that you see, like the Nidorans in the original game and stuff like that. But also in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, they gave it this new form, the Dusk Lycanroc. So out of all the Sun Moon Pokemon, that's the one that they like really, really promoted in-game, was Lycanroc with this new special form and everything. Then on top of that, apparently in the anime, this special Lycanroc has become like Ash's go-to Sun Moon Pokemon for battles in the anime. So that's the big one they're also promoting in the anime as well as the games. People like the idea of it as a Smash newcomer because it is something we don't have yet. It's a popular rock Pokemon, which is kind of rare. So you have something that, not only could have an interesting fighting style just, as a werewolf with claws and fangs and whatnot, but is also a rock manipulator, a geomancer, basically. So between those different things, Lycanroc has also become a very, very popular and anticipated potential newcomer for Smash Brothers. The third one, after Decidueye and Lycanroc that I see get brought up a lot, is Mimikyu.
Yeah.
Mimikyu itself has just become a very, very popular Pokemon in the Sun Moon setting. It is often used in the anime as well because Jessie has one on her team for this season, for this Sun and Moon. And I think because of its big popularity, they wound up giving it a unique Z move in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. If I remember correctly, I feel like I saw that it has a unique Z move all to itself. I don't remember for sure, but I feel like that's the case.
It does have one, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I would say those are the big three I see get brought up a lot. Decidueye for the merits that it's always had, Lycanroc for how promotional it's been and how well liked it's been and how special it's been, and Mimikyu just out of pure popularity. But the other cool thing about Mimikyu is that it's a ghost fairy type, so those are two things we don't have in... Well, I guess Jigglypuff's a fairy. Not that it's utilizing anything representative of that.
Mimikyu has a special Z move called Let's Snuggle Forever.
Yes, that's what it's called.
This is terrifying.
It is. That's the whole... That's what's cool about Mimikyu. It's this thing that's both, like, cute and absolutely horrendous.
No, this is actually terrifying. Okay, I guess my main thing with Mimikyu is I just don't know how well it would fit into the mechanics of Smash.
In what way?
Just from everything, like looking at it, like it doesn't seem to have limbs.
It doesn't, but it can and does create ghostly limbs.
Sakurai also just might not want to disturb children. Because, oh man, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, but its fan reception's already been proven.
Yeah, it's because a lot of people that watch anime are screwed up, man.
Like I said, I've already given my 2 cents. My favorite, despite, any accusations or whatever, my favorite is still Decidueye.
I think Decidueye makes a lot of sense. Just, like, I don't think Greninja's that popular, honestly. Like, it's important in the anime, I guess, but, like...
I mean, he never made Pokken.
I'm actually really surprised by how small the roster in Pokken is.
Me too. I mean, I guess we could go on a little tangent about that. There was a lot of things in the roster decisions of Pokken I didn't like. Like how they have Pikachu Libre instead of Hawlucha. Like, come on, you have a Luchador Pokemon, just use that.
Hey, also a floating sword.
Well, I actually like that, so...
I feel like we're gonna see at least one character. Just because it'd be really weird not to have a new Pokemon character.
Yeah.
We've always got at least one.
That's the whole thing, is Pokemon has so many good characters. Really, I mean, what we're talking about is all the great big possibilities there are. It's more of a matter of which ones we're going to see.
And I do think that Eevee is the front runner at this point. In some way. And, like, the only thing that could stop it is if Sakurai looks at it and it's just like, I don't think we can do anything with this. I think it's the only reason, because every other justification is there. Popularity is there, relevance is there, potential is there.
Now, I guess what I want to go with it is, what do you think is going to be a higher priority? Eevee or a Sun Moon Pokemon?
Well, Sun Moon's already happened.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're talking about him deciding, like, oh, we need to emphasize one of these games, Nintendo's going to want him to emphasize the game that's, like, coming out around the same time. As opposed to the one that's been out for a couple years.
That makes sense to me.
And I guess you could say, like, oh, well, it's not like a core series game, but, like, pretty much every other Pokemon in there represents the core series, and it's not like some Pokemon are only in certain games. There's no Waluigis in Pokemon.
No.
Like,
yeah.
I guess Mimikyu actually kind of is. Just in, like, the disturbing sense.
Is there any other topics about Pokemon you really wanted to hit on?
I mean, I feel like as far as stages go, Pokemon stages are pretty one and done in terms of just like what they're gonna be. It'll just be like a big city or something, or just a significant location.
Oh yeah, of course. But I mean, isn't that just
So
stages in general in Smash Brothers? Significant
Yeah,
locations?
but I mean, like, but like with Pokemon, like I just kind of feel like the Pokemon stages aren't one of the more exciting things to me to like think about.
Didn't you get excited about Poke Floats in Melee?
That's the one Pokemon stage I really liked.
God, that one was so weird.
I loved it. It was, oh man, no, like it was such a cool idea, and I hate that it's gone because now we don't got anything like it.
Yeah.
It's like having to constantly platform while you're playing. It's fantastic. I love it. It was a really cool thing. I understand why it wouldn't be like competitively viable.
Oh yeah,
but, like, that was a really fun map to play around on. Are you kidding me? That was great. Also, I'm pretty sure we'll be getting like a Lucha Pikachu costume.
Well, a lot of people are expecting a Detective Pikachu costume.
And then, you know, like, of course, there'll be new Pokeball Pokemon, and those will probably largely be a lot of the newer Pokemon from the newer games.
A lot of people think Mimikyu would be better suited to that.
One more thing. I think there is one more we need to talk about that people are going to be curious about.
Okay.
Meowth.
Ha! I was wondering. That one is on my list. I have actually a couple other things on my list.
Oh, okay. I thought you were done, and that's why you were.
Well, no, because they're all different tangents, and so that's one. Yes, I mean, for me personally, anyone who's familiar with me knows that I've had a lot of personal rosters for Smash Brothers in the past, and a lot of personal advocacy for Meowth, because I mean, gods, there's a Pokemon that like is always been relevant and is never going to lose relevancy because it is always one of the main villains of the anime. Like, it's pretty much there and as consistent as Pikachu.
And there's been several times where Meowth has been, like, specially featured in the game as well.
Yeah, more so than a lot of Pokemon. Now, I mean, there are things that it doesn't have that distinction for. I mean, there's not, like, a Let's Go Meowth or a Meowth Pokken character or anything like that.
I was actually really curious if that would happen. But yeah, I understand why they went with Eevee.
Oh, of course. But I mean, I still think that doesn't diminish the fact that Meowth has had such a large role in the anime. To me, Meowth is always going to be a good pick for that reason. And I don't know, maybe kind of like, I mean, when they added the Pokemon trainer back in Brawl, like, there was nothing indicating that. It's not like we had just gotten remakes of like Fire Red and Leaf Green, or we kind of did. But what I mean is, like, yeah, people knew that they were gonna add like Lucario or something from 4th gen. People weren't sure if they were just gonna randomly add old Pokemon that people liked, and they did. So it's interesting because like Meowth is not a character I see get brought up like a ton. But it is one I see get brought up a lot. I'd like to see him get into Smash Brothers.
With Pokemon, it's so hard to predict just because the nature of this series is different than any of the other ones that like Sakurai has to choose from. Just because, yeah, you're looking at like hundreds of fighting creatures, and you like a large majority of them could work and be interesting and fun to play as, and they're all also kind of generic creatures. In that sense, you know, you have some cases like Mewtwo where it's like, oh, there's technically only one. Yeah, you're not dealing with a lot of main characters or that kind of thing. You're not really dealing with a lot of story importance a lot of the time.
Yeah,
so a lot of it's
just really difficult prioritizing which Pokemon are the most important to have for Smash Brothers.
But I think Meowth could be dropped in at pretty much any time.
At pretty much any time. One thing I wanted to bring up, because it does get talked about, is what we're going to see with our current lineup of Pokemon. And I think the only reason that gets brought up is because we have seen that get cut in the past when Mewtwo didn't make it between Melee and Brawl. And ever since then, when compared to a lot of the other series, that topic still gets brought up more than for a lot of other series. Like, boy, is Lucario returning this time? Boy, is Greninja returning this time? You know, stuff like that.
I think it's another side effect of Pokemon being such a different series.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, I think ultimately, if they have the ability to bring back every Pokemon veteran that's currently in Smash 4, they will. Because there is a reason they were chosen in the first place, and like, even if their popularity hasn't carried over now or wasn't as prevalent as when they were added, all of them have had things done to them that have made them stay relevant since then. And even if for some reason now, this is the big one, even if for some reason now one of them didn't make the cut, we have DLC. Like, they're gonna get added back probably because one thing that, you know, an observation a lot of Smash makers have been making is that whenever a character does get cut, like we've seen with Wolf, they become like some of the most requested characters for the next Smash game because people played as them and they want them back.
Touching briefly on the DLC tangent, they were definitely kind of testing the waters of DLC with the Wii U.
Yeah, they can go all out now.
And when you talk about how that was their first time really doing something like that, and it was on a console that they probably knew by the time that Smash came out that console was in trouble.
Yeah.
We may be seeing a lot more DLC for this version of Smash than we saw for the last one.
I think we will.
Because now they know that model works. The DLC was very well received. And this is a console that is doing vastly better than the Wii U did. Which means that there's a lot more money to be made.
If we wanted to individually talk about the Pokemon lineup roster we have right now, obviously Pikachu or Jigglypuff are safe. Because, I mean, obviously Pikachu's safe. That's not even debatable. But Jigglypuff is considered, you know, one of these original 12 veterans of Super Smash Bros. And that alone makes people really sure that it's always going to be around.
If she was going to be cut, I feel like she would have been cut by now.
Yeah. Mewtwo was highly requested to come back and did. And one thing that'll be interesting to see is we have never seen a veteran of Super Smash Bros. That was in 2 Smash Bros. Games get cut, with the exception of Ice Climbers under very special circumstances. But the thing is, Mewtwo is also the first non-consecutive veteran we've ever had. I mean, besides Dr. Mario.
Yeah, that's the first guy to miss a game and then come back.
He's the Grover Cleveland of Smash Brothers.
That's a deep pull. I don't know how many people who watch this series are going to know anything about Grover Cleveland.
That's the thing he's known for as president of the United States.
Sure, but how many people that watch this channel know anything about any of the presidents of the United States other than, like, you know, the last, like, 3?
In any case, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mewtwo, but obviously Mewtwo is a well-liked enough character to come back. He was so demanded to come back, and I mean, a lot of people still consider Mewtwo like the traditional icon of legendary Pokemon, and he is.
Yeah, there really isn't a Pokemon that's a legendary Pokemon. There really isn't a legendary Pokemon that's had as much impact as Mewtwo's had. That's just kind of undeniable.
Yeah, I think so. Charizard is also technically a returning veteran. I mean, through Pokemon Trainer and Brawl, but then being a full-fledged character in Smash 4. And besides that, I mean, Charizard is one of the most popular and beloved Pokemon of all time. Someone was trying to argue with me today, at the time that we're recording this, that, like, Lucario has lost relevancy. And I just don't think so. Lucario has, ever since its introduction in the movies, has been a very well-liked, very popular Pokemon. They kept that going in 6th gen when they gave it a Mega Evolution, and now we've had all these rumors that they might do a 4th gen sometime, which, I mean, even if they are doing a 4th gen remake now, that's still the next one in line to happen. After this 1st gen remake, if you want to call it that. That's still the next remake in line. We've had Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The next one down the line is Diamond and Pearl, and that's going to bring Lucario back into the spotlight again.
I can't wait for the 4th gen remakes. Pokemon Blood Diamond and Mother of Pearl.
Lucario also had a very strong presence in Pokken. Like, I know that's weird to say because there's a lot of Pokemon in Pokken, but I mean, he was one of the promotional ones. And then Greninja, that's another one where people are like, well, he's not this big, long-standing veteran like the other ones, so maybe he'll get cut because he's not relevant anymore. And what I always immediately say to that, there is no way they are cutting Greninja. There is no way they're going to cut the character that since the last Smash game has been so heavily promoted in the games and anime that they actually gave it its own special form, its own unique transformation, completely and solely unique to Greninja. There's no way they're going to drop that. In fact, they're probably going to incorporate it.
Yeah, they literally crossed him over with, like, the star of the franchise.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to drop Greninja after doing all that for him.
It's hard to tell. We just might not see any cuts, man.
I really, and that in general is one of the big rumors of Smash Brothers right now for Smash 5 or Smash Switch, whatever you want to call it. One of the big rumors is that there won't be any cuts. That one of the things they're doing is, which I think is similar to what they did with Splatoon 2, they're pretty much carrying over all of the assets from Smash Wii U and then just adding onto it or changing things within it. Because, like, graphically, there's not a ton that needs to be updated with most of the characters.
It's just up-resing with a lot of it, yeah.
So, if that rumor is true, then yeah, we very well could wind up in a situation where we just don't have cuts in general. But specifically with Pokemon, I think we have a really solid Pokemon lineup, and they're all characters with their own merits that very, very easily warrant their positions in Smash Brothers.
It's so hard to tell, man. It's just a bunch of fighting animals. It's just a lot of fighting animals, man. It's one of those things where it's just like 1,000 things could happen with this franchise.
Oh yeah.
I just think like Pokemon Let's Go Eevee is gonna be a big case for Eevee.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I think that's the only thing that like is really standing out to me on like a major level. And other than that, it's like I have a hard time saying that like we should cut anybody, and I have a hard time choosing any particular Pokemon over any other.
Yep.
Like outside of just like, hey, Eevee's got his face on a game. I don't know what else there is to say.
I think we've said about as much as we can here without going on individual tangents for this Pokemon or that Pokemon or this Pokemon or that Pokemon.
Another thing that's also huge with Pokemon is like a lot of people also then just have their own individual favorites that they want to see.
Of course.
You know, I mean, like
I love Sceptile.
There are people who want to see Darkrai. There's a lot that could work, and it's just like I don't know how you decide in any kind of objective sense with a series where like the story doesn't really matter, and it's just here's a gallery, here's a harem of fighting animals to choose from. Maybe not a harem. Well, you can pet them. It's basically Fire Emblem. Did you have anything else on the list?
I wrote down just because I have a buddy on Smashboards who's been talking about it a lot. I wrote down Incineroar, but I mean, I think that's just that kind of thing. It's a personal favorite. I mean, yeah, sure, it'd be cool to see. It would sure be cool to see Hawlucha or Pangoro or Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee or Machamp or any number of things. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about Incineroar specifically, it's used quite a bit in both the anime and the games. It's a cool wrestling Pokemon. The thing that bugs me about it is that it'd be another fire starter to go with Charizard, and it'd be like, oh cool, our starters are fire, fire, water now. No grass. But
dude, that's my favorite that's my favorite 70s band.
Fire, fire, water.
It's very late. I'm very tired.
Oh yeah, it's super late for you. It's only like kind of late for me.
I don't know if I'm being overly weird in this episode or not, but I guess we'll find out when it goes up.
Yeah, I think we've reached a good cutoff point. Because like I said, we're pretty much down to the point where I think we've hit pretty much all the major notes. We've talked about the veterans. We've talked about what I think are some of the likelier Sun Moon Pokemon. We've talked about what we could see from the future with things like Time and Pearl remakes, this upcoming Eevee game, how Meowth is always a possibility. We could just talk about any number of individual Pokemon now that would be good Smash Brothers choices, but
now let's just wait.
I think
let's just wait and then see that at E3 they're gonna say the 8th gen is actually going to be a first-person shooter, and you're going to be playing as a Primeape. And he's going to be just like a Primeape, but he's going to have like a bandana and like just a bunch of guns.
I think we've reached our finishing point with that statement.
Thank you for coming to Smashtalk. Oh God. Oh no, dude. You want to talk about? That's some of the worst stuff I ever put on the internet. Like honestly.
I mean, I'd already deleted all of my worst stuff, but
see, I didn't delete anything because I don't want to. I don't want to like feel like I'm like hiding stuff. You can still see all the old Smashtalks if you go to like the channel and
it's right on the front
page. All the old
page.
Smashtalks. Was that?
It's right on your front page.
Yeah, it's right on my front page. If you want to go watch the old ones, you can go do that. I just like I enlisted them so that nobody would like find it when they looked for my channel because like I don't want that to be my first impression. That stuff was so bad. Oh my God! It's not like this is. It's not like the stuff I'm doing right now is. I'm literally just talking into my microphone in front of my webcam. It's not like I'm doing stellar production at the moment, but it's a step up from the old Smashtalk. That's how bad that was. We'll see you guys for another one. I have no idea what it's gonna be. We'll probably still do one or two more before E3 at this rate.
Oh, you think so? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because we still got like what 10 days?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe just one then.
Yeah, probably.
We'll
maybe.
See.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Wilson. Bye, guys.
Bye. That was a good one.
Do you remember? You're a good one.
Thank you.